Hey everybody! Today we're going to get back into carving this blue guitar top here, and we're going to do one of my favorite work days in the shop, which is using a sharp gouge across the grain to determine the shape of the arch of the guitar. So this is really an important step, and I love doing this. It's great, and I love doing it with gouges, which I insist are the correct tools for this job. Sometimes you find people using all kinds of odd tools like chainsaws or jackhammers, and we'll just leave those alone and try and be excellent woodworkers and get it done with the tools at hand. So first, one more look at the gouge population here. I have 4 of these gouges that are suitable for this work, roughing on the inside and the outside. And let's just have a look at these. This is a 20 millimeter gouge, which is a number 6 sweep, and this is the same manufacturer, same sweep, number 6, and it's 5 millimeters wider. So this one's 20 and this one's 25 millimeters wide. And then I have 2 larger gouges, which I didn't measure. All right, so this one is 41 millimeters, and this one is 51. And these are old gouges. This one in particular, I believe, is quite old. This is W. Butler cast steel, it says. And this guy died in 1870, so this might be a pretty old tool. So when it says cast steel, it means that the tool steel, which was then very difficult to make, was made in small batches by geniuses, alloy geniuses at the time. And then these tools were forged. And you can see the forging marks on the tang. You can see the hammer marks here. So anyway, cool tool. And this one we looked at before. This is a James Swan Company tool. And this one is one that we sharpened last month sometime, I guess. Anyhow, so these don't have the sweeps. Since they're ancient, they don't have the sweep marked on them, but I used this this pin copying thing here, and it turns out that this 51 millimeter gouge is number 6. Also, it's also a number 6 sweep, and this other one, the 41 millimeter gouge, looks like it's more a 7, so a little bit more curved. But anyway, roughly speaking, probably 5 to 7 sweep would be cool. Meanwhile, isn't this something? Can't remember where that came from. So let's try these gouges out and see how they work compared to one another. I'll try the little one first. So cutting freely, of course, and working across the grain, we can remove a lot of material with small amount of horsepower, and without danger of any kind of ripping or breakage of the material, apart from the tiny controlled amount of tearing that happens right at the center of the gouge. Okay, see how that works? Right in the middle of the gouge, you can see there's a tiny bit of tearing at the bottom, but it's so minor that it's not something we need to worry about. Anyway, so it's a nice, safe way to remove material. So that's a 20 millimeter gouge. Here's the one that I did, a little bit bigger gouge that we called the Seriously Improved Gouge series. And I kind of like the handle I made on this one better than the stock handle in that first gouge, but it's also working well. Probably a little bit less force required for some reason. I don't really know why. I just sharpened all of these. Okay, and then now it might be a time to show this bigger gouge. And this is really some luxury here. Nice long handle, tons of control, and seems to suit the work very, very well. This 41 millimeter gouge that we rehabilitated and put to a new use. So, as you may remember from last time, this started out as a paring gouge with a bevel on the inside, and we repurposed it as a carving gouge with a bevel on the outside, and our happy, smiling shape. So, I guess this is probably the gouge I would stick with for this. You can see it's not a tremendous amount of force that's required to take these pretty big chips. And, like we were just saying, leave a pretty good surface. Now, let's just check out this mother of all gouges here. Is 51 millimeter gouge, even bigger. Oh, this isn't working. Oh boy, that's not working really at all. Huh, I wonder. Oh. Wow, that's terrible. Now I just sharpened this. Okay, I'm being a little silly. I will reveal to you why it doesn't work. It has a hollow grind. So this is a gouge that I loaned to another craftsperson for him to try out, and I supplied it. He was going to use it to rough out bases, upright bases, and I supplied it with a rounded bevel, or I guess, okay, we'll call it a bevel, rounded bevel, and he decided that it was better to regrind it with this hollow on it. I'm not really sure why he did that, but he spoiled the way the gouge works, and I'm not going to take the time to redo this now in front of you because this is working great. So, but here's this shape is a terrible problem, and it's why the gouge doesn't work very well at all. Now let's try and analyze why that is. All right. So here we have, here's a variety of so-called spoon bottom planes, in that they're curved in both directions. So this one, of course, is curved. This is a Stanley that you can buy. This is curved across the width of the tool, much more than it is curved along the tool. Here's a metal plane that I made a long time ago, which is curved a little bit more also across, than along, less curved than this. And here's a plane I also made in the 70s, and this one is obviously not curved very much across the grain, but is curved along the grain more. I can't remember how I felt about this plane. I haven't used this in a long time. This is the plane I'm using now. This is a design that we'll talk about more sometime. But this is a prototype, one of the prototype versions of this plane. This plane is curved across and along the curve in the same curve. So in other words, this is the section of a sphere, and whereas these are other complex shapes. So this is a simple shape, a section of a sphere. And the cool thing about this is that you can push it in any orientation, any angular orientation you want. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but it really is cool, and you can also pull it. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about planes right now, although I'm not going to use them today, is that the plane has a surface that is a lot like the surface we're trying to get. And it is in that spirit that this kind of surface is fulfilling the same function. In other words, you can think of this tool, this gouge, as a spoon bottom plane. There's a spoon bottom plane, okay? Cutting in this direction, of course. But it's kind of a spoon bottom plane without the front part, without the infeed side of the tool. So we have a gouge that has a top edge here, and then the bottom edge should be rounded the same way. It should be convex the same way that a carving plane is convex, because the surface we're cutting is going to be a concave surface. All right. Even though on the archtop, of course, the outside is generally convex, there are areas that are not. Well, there are surfaces that curve both ways, is what I'm trying to say. But the concave cut is excellent for roughing, because you can remove a lot of material, leave a good surface, and have just little lumps in between the cuts to clean up, which isn't a lot of work. Okay, so we've determined that this tool is working great and cutting freely. This tool with the although it's just as sharp, oh boy, oh, that's no fun. So that tool needs to be rehabilitated in order to do any useful work, so far as I'm concerned. All right, so back to work here. Let's just see about removing some of this big material. So maybe now it's time to talk a little bit about stance and the way you want to use an edge tool. So you're going to try and make an effort, I think, to line up your, well, I'm right-handed, so it's my right side, my right foot, my right knee, my right shoulder, my right elbow, my hand, and my right eye, all in one plane, so that there isn't any twisting going on in the system when you're doing this, and you're staring straight down the tool, and then everything is pretty well lined up with the tool. It's an important stance, and it means that you can work accurately without a lot of fatigue. Something to keep in mind. You can see that the waist offers some extra challenges because of the bigger slopes. And this might be a little harder with a smaller tool. Let's see how this works. Oh, I don't know. It's working okay. Working fine. All right, let's try out this other one. Okay, well, it's a big rough cut. So I think the next thing I'll do is flip it around and do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll talk about what happens after that.